Hello there and welcome to this vlog of May 2023, and today's video is going to be relatively quick, I think, although I do often say that and then suddenly we're at the 30-40 minute mark. But I just want to do a quick news synopsis of certain things that happened over the last 5 days in regards to the Kickstarter and BattleTech in general, because I think we got one really interesting news drop just from a few hours ago, which is well worth talking about. I know people keep using the phrase game changer with BattleTech, but this is another one of those things where you're like, oh my, this is interesting. So we'll talk about that in a second anyway. First up though, I just wanted to, it's a little bit of a, I suppose, a public service announcement on the Kickstarter, just in case you missed it and you signed up to the Kickstarter. But the news here is important if you missed the Kickstarter as well. So let's just read this out. This is from May the 2nd. So we are still hard at work typing away at the pledge manager to make sure it's ready when we launch. There's still a lot to do, so expect about 1 to 2 weeks more before we're ready to go live. That's great. So that was obviously from the 2nd, so just earlier this week. I would expect then, I mean, if they say 1 to 2 weeks, I probably think we can expect it like the end of next week that the pledge manager will open up. I then believe you have a full calendar month to do what you need to do on the pledge manager. So that's when you go in and decide what force packs you want and what swag you want, things like that. I don't know what happens if you miss that. I've got no idea. I don't know if you'll just get what they choose for you or if they'll send you a specific email after several months saying, can you please tell us what you want? I've got no idea. But best way to not have that happen is to just make sure that you fulfill the pledge. There you go. Nice and simple. The big news here, it's not big news. This may have been on the other Kickstarter as well and I just missed it. But I'll just read this second paragraph out here. Those who missed the Kickstarter will get a chance to pre-order in the Pledge Manager. When it goes live, you'll see a pre-order button on the top of the Kickstarter page. Pre-order purchases do not count towards stretch goals, but they do qualify for getting stretch goals based on pledge levels, as they do during the Kickstarter campaign. That's really good. I mean, effectively, the Pledge Manager is effectively like a store from this junction on. So what that's saying is, and I have sympathy for a lot of people because I know a lot of people who were saying, I just didn't have the money at the time, and, they hold their hands up usually, like my fault. I knew it was coming, I should have saved for it, but I forgot. Or something happened and I didn't have the money at the time or whatever. And now you can just go and sign up, and like it says there in the second part of that paragraph, you still get all the pledge stretch goal options. So if you go in at a $500 level, you'll get all the regiment extras that you are entitled to, which I believe is 17 force packs and numerous swag points and numerous salvage points and things like that. So that's a really good thing. It just means that Catalyst as well can, again, just maximise their commercial opportunities here and get as much money as they possibly can, which for me, as a BattleTech fan, is massively important because I want the custodians of the IP to be in a good commercial place, which is what we should all want, because then we get more stuff and everyone's happy. Where do I think this will lead in regards the future potential of opening up the Kickstarter again? Well, they kind of don't need to now, right? If they're doing it this way. Maybe they could do it as like a marketing draw. So it's like, we'll announce like a month ahead of time in September that we're going to open the Kickstarter again, and then that gets a little bit more traction across like the gaming media and things like that. So that's potentially could happen. But given how they've done this now, you can just go in for another month and sign up to it, which is kind of reopening the Kickstarter to some extent if you think about it. Apart from the stretch goal thing, that's a different matter here. One thing that I do want to touch on though, and this was completely news to me. I'm quite shocked, and it's a rumor, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying it across the community. if you go on like notice boards or you listen to podcasts and things of that nature, you may have heard people saying things like, yeah, Catalyst have actually put their orders in before, the Kickstarter, as the Kickstarter was going on, they were speaking to their factories and getting them to actually make the plastics now. If that is the case, which God willing it is, we're going to get the Kickstarter significantly quicker than I think we all expected. Now, I don't know how they've done that. It could be that they've just created all the core stuff and they've left the more niche stuff, things like the legendary warrior packs and things like that. Maybe they're kind of the thing that the factories will do last, because they're probably not as expecting as many orders on those, because people will get them for sure, but they are relatively niche. I mean, if you're new to BattleTech, I don't necessarily think you're going to be buying like the legendary pack 2, which has got like the black thorns and lots of like smaller mercenary like characters in there. I could be wrong, but that would just be my kind of feeling on it. I think it's more likely that people are going to go in for the vehicles and the standard force packs, the ones like with the Jägermech in there and the Whitworth and things like that. So if they're doing all those what I'd consider like the core packs and vehicle packs, then they're going to have a lot of the stuff ready to go relatively quickly. Now, I'm hearing on the grapevine that is a thing, but again, no confirmation. I've not heard anyone at Catalyst say that. They did say June 2024 initially for expected deliveries. But again, if they are now, let's say they don't plan on opening up the Kickstarter again in the autumn and they're just going to do it this way, does that mean that they're going to have fulfilled a lot of their plastics and all packed up and ready to go by like autumn, winter time? In which case then, it takes like a month to ship. So are we going to be expecting this in like January, February next year, potentially? I don't want to get people's hopes up, but I just look at it in a logistic sense in regards, Catalyst will absolutely want to smash how they do this. And I think it would be, if I was at their point, I'd be looking at getting some really good PR out of this. So we'll say June, but then we'll give it to them in January, and then everyone will be like, oh my goodness, they give it to us 3 more months sooner than expected. That's kind of with my PR hat on how I would be kind of thinking about doing it if I could. Because then, that really gives like the community a good bump in morale. And then any other Kickstarter they want to do in the future, which I think they will do more Kickstarters, but I think they'll be a lot smaller. And I mean a lot smaller. I think you'll get things like, we'll do the Capellan Kickstarter, and there's going to be 2 force packs available, and it's going to be a $50 max, stuff like that. I think this is the end of the mass Kickstarter, because it's just too... Again, if Catalyst have gone on record multiple times of saying that they can't get the plastics outside of China for like, an affordable price. And I think if you've got a smaller Kickstarter and it goes wrong, then it's not the end of the world. If this Kickstarter goes wrong, it's massively problematic, because there's a hell of a lot of finance and money involved in it. Whereas if you just put a smaller one up that maybe gets, like $1 million or something like that, and and then, if something goes wrong, you can give everyone a credit and say, look, we'll do it, we'll just get it made somewhere else if the production problems or shipping problems have occurred in China. And then, effectively you can just, we'll give it to you for free. We'll post it out free over the next year or whatever. Doing it with this would be a nightmare, because people are expecting an absolute ton of stuff. And I know during the last Kickstarter, when they did the double force option, I think that really hurt them financially, which is a good thing that they're not doing it again, because they obviously, they didn't foresee that it would have that many like logistical problems. Other things as well that are quite infamous now, like T-shirts. It's why you're not getting T-shirts in this Kickstarter, because they're an absolute nightmare to kind of sort out. So they've just kept all the stuff that they know that they had problems with out of this to deliver quicker. So fingers crossed, that means we're going to see something relatively sooner than expected. I mean, I was talking about this on Jump Point with Aaron and Tom, and I was very much like glass half empty on there, saying, yeah, it will be, we'll probably get it in like autumn 2024, because that's what I'd expect, shipping. And Tom was like, no, I think we'll get it a bit sooner than that. So hopefully Tom and the rumours are all correct, and the June day is just like a long field estimate for them, and they kind of know they're going to get it to us in, say, like January, February. Anyway, let's get on to the news drop that we had over the last few hours. Here we are. Don't know even to think about this really because it was so unexpected. I think a few people across the community had speculated that we were getting this variant of the Centurion, which we'll talk about in a second. What you'll see on here, though, the page that I'm on, the website page that I am on, is actually Target's homepage. Target, if you are outside of the US, which I am obviously, but I know things about America. Target is like a big superstore in America, a big chain superstore that sell like everything. The Barnes and Noble situation, the Barnes and Noble are a massive company in their own right as well across the US, but they are, I mean, I've always associated Barnes and Noble with like books and games. Target, though, are like the everyman store, right? So BattleTech has gone to Target. I think that will all be done through the placement of their corporate connections through Tops and Fanatics, I would imagine, where they're going to have significant retail connections for sure. So this is a real game changer. Again, use that horrible cliche, but it's going to put BattleTech on the storefront where just your average Joe American rock up. Not like Barnes and Nobles, where you know Barnes and Nobles clientele are probably going to be into things like, you know, gaming and dice games and books and role playing stuff like that. Not all of them, obviously, but I think there's a chunk of that. Target, everybody, right? So it's every neighbour you've got in the US will probably go to Target at one point during a year because it's convenient. You get this online as well. Obviously, you can see the pre-order here. Release date's June 18th, so it's already obviously all boxed up and probably just ready to get shipped to them and then get ready to go. So we're talking, 5-6 weeks. We'll talk about the negatives first because they're only relatively small, but as with Barnes & Noble, I don't believe Target they might ship outside the US. I'm pretty sure they don't ship to the UK. I'm not particularly bothered about that though, because usually if history is anything to go by with this, it will eventually make its way onto eBay, or I can find people across the community who will buy it for me and then post it out. I know that's not ideal because I don't particularly like having to ask people to go to those lengths to, you know, satisfy or sate my BattleTech lust, but or as well, like, I mean, I think this is exclusive to Target for now. Eventually that exclusivity ends though, and then maybe in like 6 to 12 months these things will make their way into like the UK market, so they probably will end up at the hobby stores in the UK market. Slightly annoying though, because it means that we are permanently delayed on getting things. We're finding that absolutely with the Mercenaries box sets. Again, I've got somebody in the US that will go out and buy those, you know, very generously, go into Barnes and Noble, buy them for me and then ship them out for me. Or, you know, even get things on the Catalyst site where it's much cheaper for them to get it shipped, and then they just send me a bill and then I pay for all the shipping and everything and they send it over. Yes, it's more expensive for me to do it that way, but I'm not, you know, I'm in the mindset of this is a niche hobby project, and, you know, shipping's hard at the moment, so Catalyst have got to be careful in regards how they kind of do this. They've been speaking for a long time about getting like a European and an Asian hub. That would be incredible. I mean, if they can get like a warehouse distributor in like Germany, that would be, I mean, I think Germany would be the logical option. I think you'd want somewhere in the EU, which Britain obviously isn't. So, and you know, I mean, I don't know, maybe they've got such a good market now in the UK, they'd do a UK and a Germany one. I don't know, but I'd quite happily pay German shipping fees in the knowledge that then people can get BattleTech quite easily in France and Italy and, you know, like the Nordic countries or whatever, or Spain. I think BattleTech's quite popular as well. Much easier than it would be in the UK because they wouldn't have the kind of Brexit like duty levies on imposed on them. So that's the one negative, really. I think it's got that like exclusivity feel to it, which does hurt the international market. But let's talk about the product, because the product itself I think looks really interesting. I think, I mean, let's just hover over these pictures here and see what we can make out. So we have here a quick rules. We've got some of those nice like cut out record sheets as well with like the imagery on there. That basically tells me right off the bat that this is just a different, like the third variant of the like beginners pack. You can kind of tell, I mean, it looks like a beginner's pack, right? It's got 2 plastic mechs in there. It's got like a regular like paper mat. And it looks like it's going to be those quick rules where I don't think you have things like, I've never played it to be honest, but I don't think there's like heat management in there and things like that. Just strips out a lot of the complexity of the game, so you can just play it as a regular old board game. You can see though, let's click on this. Oh, this one's a bit better actually. So you do get the cardboard standees. So there's a Thunderbolt and a Wolverine in there. We'll go on to talk about the 2 plastic mechs in a second. Also, all the usual stuff. So they've actually got like an urban terrain there by the looks of it, which is nice. I think that's because this is effectively like the Solaris box set. So it's like gladiatorial combat, which makes sense in regards to the mechs that they have got here. There's an instant guide to the inner sphere as well. And there it is, the Solaris 7 arena map rules. So that's really interesting. So again, is it going to be more orientated towards that then? So you buy this and you get, it's almost like the City Tech variant. So you get the Solaris 7 map rule. Or is it going to be more along the lines of the basic, you know, this kind of thing here, which I'm guessing it is because I can't see any heat management on there. So it does look like it's basic, but it might be one of those. But you can buy it if you want the Solaris 7, so that kind of opens it up to players who are not new to the game and would like it just for that rule set, which is certainly how I would look at it. Let's have a look at the 2 mechs then. So we have here a Rifleman. Now this variant of the Rifleman, it's a weird variant for them to give, I feel. I mean, I know what it is. It's the what do they call it? The Legend Killer, is it? It's from one of the books. It's a long time since I read it. I know the other mech quite well. I've got it open on the flex sheet actually, so we'll have a look at that in a second. But this is basically just like a stock variant of the Rifleman with a couple of changes. So I think it strips like a couple of M lasers off, puts more armor on there, things like that. So I don't think they've had to change the sculpt. It's just a regular Rifleman. It might be in a slightly different pose, which I think it is. I think the regular Rifleman in the regular pack's quite square up. This one's kind of at an angle. But it looks very, very similar. I mean, the gun barrels might be a little bit different on there, but yeah, it's a Rifleman. The really interesting one here, though, is the Centurion. And it was only recently I was talking about, can we please get another sculpt of the Centurion? Because I really didn't like... it's probably my least favourite mech out of all the Force packs. It was far too slim and just didn't really look like it was doing much. And I really like the Centurion. It's a real like soldier mech in BattleTech, and in a way, I feel like the pretty poor sculpt, as far as I see it, has now what has overtaken it for me is the Enforcer, because I love the Enforcer sculpt on the from the new plastics. And I've always, if I'm playing like a soldier Davian mech, I'll always veer now towards the Enforcer as opposed to the Centurion, just because I much prefer how it looks. Let's have a look at this Centurion anyway, because it's a very specific type. It's actually the Yen Lo Wang, which is like Chinese for like the King of Death or something like that. It's obviously Justin Allard, can't remember how he says his name. Who's like a spy for the Fed Sons. 3027 mech, and in 3027 this is a very crunchy mech, and I mean the story with Justin is a very interesting one. He ends up like acting as he basically gets like thrown out of Fedcom for Capellan sympathies, but it's all a ruse. I mean these books are years old, so I can't say the spoilers really. I think it's pretty obvious as well, right? Like he ends up getting in with the the Capellan powers that be, but part of his journey takes him to Solaris 7, where he ends up being a gladiator, and this is the mech that he like rocks there. And You can see straight away for a Centurion, it's upgraded its gun to an AC-20. Interesting choice on the arm. I know people can be pretty sceptical of that because having like AC weaponry on the arm can mean it can get destroyed quite easily. Although he's got a weird distribution of armor here, which we'll talk about in a second. One M laser, the other M laser in the back, which is typical. I mean, that's not something you particularly, I think, are keen to see on this mech. Anyone would probably prefer that in the front. But then it's got a hatchet on the side. It's called a hatchet. You can see here though, it's more of a claw, a big claw, but you know, for the purposes of tabletop play, they're calling it a hatchet. Very solid mech for 3027. I mean, it's kind of to me, it's like a better version of the Hatchet Man. You know, it's better armoured, you know, similar speed. It doesn't jump, obviously. It's got that weird distribution of armour as well. So it gets the 16 points of armour on the AC-20 side and the 14 on the other side. So that makes sense. That's a good like design option. Just give you a little bit more of a boost there. But again, you know, it's only a 50-ton mech, so it can't take a battering. So if you get like enough right arm hits, obviously, you've got a very, very high chance of just critting that AC-20. There is an upgraded variant of this as well, which is a mech I'm far more interested in, which is the YLW2 variant of this mech, basically. And I love it because it's got the old TSM on there. This means, yes, triple strength myoma. I've spoken about this many times. It's one of my favourite things in BattleTech. It means that when you reach the certain level of heat, which is 9 points, your mech doth go a lot faster, and the levels of damage from things like the hatchet suddenly go from 10 to 20. So it's an absolute head-capping menace. This one as well is a far better variant because it's got the gouge rifle on there, which is another head-capping, like, dangerous weapon. 2 impulses on the front side this time, so in the left arm. And the... is that in the left arm? Yeah, that's right, which is slightly annoying because it's on the same arm as the hatchet, so that's a bit of a design flaw there. And then a medium pulse in the center rear, because all Centurions seem to have that. But it doesn't really matter because if you get into range with this thing, and it gets faster obviously as it gets that TSM modifier, so you're running then at 8, so you can kind of get into your enemy with that hatchet and just bam across the head. I love that mech. I think it's an absolute beauty, a real beauty of a mech. Just really looking forward to get a different variant of the Centurion, even if I'm not going to use this specifically as that particular, you know, as the Yen Lo Wang. I just wanted to see how that is spelled again because I don't speak Chinese. Then I'll use it. I'll probably turn that claw into a shield arm, because that to me looks like a hell of a better Centurion than the version that we had in the initial Kickstarter, or the Clan Inversion Kickstarter. It just looks a lot more chunky. Yeah, I mean, even if you use it as a standard variant, you know, you go back to using the AC-10 on that right arm. But again, you've almost got something there that you can just attach a shield to and just call it a shield arm. I don't play shield rules with a Centurion, but I just want it then on there for like visual reasons, because I think it just makes them look a lot better. So yeah, happy about that, really happy. See the price point as well, nice and affordable, $25. I think $25 for like effectively what will be, if you're experienced in BattleTech, it's a new rule set effectively, and 2 like unique mechs. I'm happy with that. Usually as well on these cards here, they usually have like imagery on the back, which I use the imagery to kind of decorate my shelving, or certainly will be, as I get the stuff in to do that. At the moment, I think I've got like several bits of it that I've put up. So I'm always happy to get these just for like little miniature posters that I can laminate and then put up on the back there. So yeah, great move. I think Catalyst again expanding out into retail. So that's the thing we love to see, right? I'll leave it here anyway, because that's all I wanted to say today. Just give that quick news update. Over the next few weeks, I'm really hoping that I do get a run to do the little series of videos I want to do on the War of 3039. I really need like a morning just to sit and record like 3 in a row. But at the moment, we've kind of gone into that new financial year period at work. So we're doing a lot of like hiring and like budgetary stuff and new projects and things like that. So I'm pretty maxed out at the moment with the work, but I think hopefully over the next like couple of weeks I'll be able to find some time over a weekend or something just to sit and record it, because I'm acutely aware that my channel has now just become like a news update channel for BattleTech, which is never was my intention for it. That was just supposed to be like one part of it. I think as well, if I'm honest with myself, it's the lazy, easy option to do this. It's harder to obviously go and read, refresh my knowledge of BattleTech, and then sit and like come up with synopsis and hypothesis and things of that nature. So I really want to get back into that, but and it's a good time to do it for recording because we're on a little bit of a hiatus with Jump Point. So we've done season 1. We did 10 episodes in season 1. We are going to record that probably over the next, or season 2 we'll record over the summer. I'm not sure when Aaron's plans are to get it back out, but it won't be too long. I mean, it's not going to be like we wait a year. It's not going to be like waiting for, Game of Thrones or something like that. Not that we're that big, but like it's something that will come around in a few months or something like that. I'd imagine we'll start, putting them back on the DFA channel. So there we are. I'll leave it there. I'm now going to go and watch the King's coronation. Just for the history, really. I'm not far from a monarchist, but lots of interesting rituals in that I've always wanted to see in like a modern HD like camera. So you can actually the only evidence we've got of this is grainy footage from back in the 50s when the Queen got coronated. So really quite looking forward to seeing that. So it's coming up actually in the next hour. So I'll bid you all a fond farewell. I'm going to go and put my Union jacket waistcoat on. No, I'm not. And I'll hopefully catch you again next time.